It's a brand new year. This morning it was sleeting, but we're out here doing barbecue. We've got 9 pork butts on the Lone Star Grillz 24 by 48 offset behind us. And I want to give you a 5-year update on this pit. We've had it for 5 years, so there's some stories to tell. My buddy Jason and I went and picked up this pit in Chicago from someone who had bought it to be able to open a halal restaurant or do halal catering. Now, it wasn't big enough for their needs, so they sold it off to us, and we got it for a little bit of a discount compared to what it would cost new from the Lone Star Grillz website. But we have thoroughly enjoyed owning this pit for the last 5 years. What I want to do in this video is kind of bring you up to date on a little bit of what we've done with it, what we love about it, and some of the challenges that we've run into owning this pit. So if that's what you're interested in, you're considering a Lone Star and you're thinking about maybe buying one, or you're looking at that brand, this is going to be a great video for you. So stick around. I'm going to tell you the things that you might expect and some things that you probably haven't heard before. So here we go. The first thing I want to lay out about this pit is that it is heavy. This pit is so hard to get on a trailer because it's so thoroughly well built. This is 1/4-inch steel, especially in the firebox. It's an insulated firebox, but this thing is heavy. It's all I can do to get it up on the trailer to be able to take it places with me when I'm cooking remotely, and that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I love that it's insulated for days like today where it's 31 degrees outside here in the Midwest. Now, we're located in Indianapolis and it is frigid today. When we loaded the smoker this morning, there was sleet falling all around us and we got it loaded, but I had to go inside multiple times just to warm up because the wind is about 20 miles an hour as well. The thing I really love about this pit is how well it's built. I don't have any questions about the welds. I know that it's built with super thick metal, and I love that this is an insulated firebox. So let me talk about that for a second. This is something that they don't do at Lone Star Grillz anymore based on the last time I spoke with Chris. He said that they were almost too efficient with an insulated firebox, and I gotta say, he's probably right. At the same time, I really do love the insulated firebox when I'm living here in the middle of the winter here in the Midwest. I find that once you get this smoker up to temperature, it's going to roll the temperature that you want it to roll pretty easily, but you're not going to feed it as often as you might need to feed an uninsulated firebox. I can put about 1 split in here about every hour and maintain a good 250 to 275 as long as I have a strong coal bed. We were doing a graduation open house not too long ago, and we had someone come up and put their hands on the pit. It was someone who had special needs, and they came and they put their hands directly on the pit. One of the things I really liked about that insulated firebox is that it didn't burn them because it was insulated. During that brief second when no one was looking and they reached over and grabbed the firebox, they pulled their hands back and said hot, but it wasn't so hot that it burned their hands and required them to go to the hospital. So that's something that I really like about the insulation on the firebox, is that it's safe for those who are around it. Now, we have a couple kids here at the house. We have kids who are here all the time while we're cooking. I like that safety feature, even if it is something that makes it almost too efficient for the kind of smoke that you might want. So let's talk about the smoke you might want. Now, if you look behind me, you're going to see that we've got pretty decent smoke going on right now. You can see that that is probably more white smoke than it is thin blue smoke because I just threw a new split on the fire. But I find I can still get some pretty decently thick smoke even with an insulated firebox here. One of the concerns might be that you're not able to use enough wood in the fire to get that wood-fired flavor. I haven't found that to be the case. I find that I'm able to get the flavors that I want using cherry and oak here in the Midwest, and I'm really happy with the flavor profiles that I get off of the Lone Star Grill. I want to tell you something on this Lone Star Grill that I thought I would use a bunch that I actually don't use at all, and that is the stack cap. I thought for sure that I would be using that all the time to be able to choke back the amount of airflow going through this pit. But one of the things that they say on the Lone Star Grillz website is that oftentimes you just go ahead and leave the stack fully open and you control your draw from the intake, and I found that that works gloriously on this pit. I have choked it back a few times and tried to give it, maybe halfway open, quarter open, 3/4 open, but I find that I like it the best when it's all the way open and you can control your smoke and you can control your air intake from that intake vent on the firebox. Another thing that I thought I'd use all the time was the optional probe port that came with this unit. There's a nice little port on the side where you can take your probes, stick them through, and make sure you don't have to leave them in the door to open, close, open, close. What I find is that whenever I'm running this pit, I'm usually running so many probes that I can overfill that probe port, and I would need multiple probe ports to be able to make it work. So oftentimes I find that I just leave my probes in the door and try to be careful closing it and not let it slam. One thing that's been oddly frustrating about this grill is that the thermometers themselves don't actually orient themselves vertically without some help. I find that to be able to tighten these down all the way, they will tilt to the side and one's completely upside down. I know that oftentimes thermometers will come with something on the back to be able to release and actually make it so you can put them vertically, but I think our original owner must have gotten rid of those because they don't exist anymore on this pit. So that's something that I need to go and find at some point. It's been a frustration, but it's not so bad that I went out and actually ordered those, right? Now, like I said in the intro, this is their 24 by 48 offset smoker, which means it's 24 inches deep and 48 inches wide inside the cook chamber. Now, as you can see behind me, this is the 2-door version. There's a door on the right and the door on the left. And what that means is that I have both a set of bottom shelves, and I have a set of top shelves. That set of top shelves, I really, really like having top shelves in this grill. Do they run hotter? Yes, they do. Is that okay? Absolutely. I don't mind that at all. But I like having the extra capacity in the grill for when I'm cooking for 200, 250 people. I like that I can be able to have a bottom rack and a top rack, and I wouldn't want to lose that in this size of grill. The thing about having 2 doors as opposed to 1 door, though, is something that I will consider when I start looking at my next pit. And it solely comes down to the fact that in order to have 2 sliding shelves for each door, you have to have center pillar. And that center pillar means you have rail racks on each side, and you lose a little bit of usable space in this grill. Now, that's not a problem for everybody, because I can fit 12 pork butts on this grill, no problem. That's 4 on each bottom rack and 2 on each top rack. I could potentially fit more than 12 if I had much smaller pork butts than probably the average 8 to 9 pounds that I find at the supermarket. But 8 or 9 pound pork butts, I can't fit more than 2 on the top shelf due to the closeness to the top and the curvature of the top of the grill. When I'm just smoking meat, whether it's brisket or whether it's pork butt or chicken or whatever it might be, I can use all 4 shelves to their full capacity, and they're really, really nice. When I'm cooking more than just barbecue meats, and I'm going to do something like a hotel pan full of chili, or I'm doing some smoked queso, or I'm doing some kind of an event for a larger crowd where I'm using things like hotel pans and half hotel pans to be able to prep and cook and keep warm, it becomes a problem having the 4 shelves. The primary issue is that you can't fit a full hotel pan on the top shelves in this grill. There's just not enough depth in the curvature of the top of the unit. I could put a hotel pan up there, but it's probably a ½ inch to about an inch too deep on the width-wise if you put it up on that top shelf, which is disappointing because just a smidge more and I could make it work. Now, if you use an aluminum hotel pan, you can kind of like crimp up the edges and smash it and make it work. But what I found is that if you do that, sometimes you compromise the integrity of that aluminum foil pan and you can dump a bunch of chili on the ground accidentally. Ask me how I know about that. But on the bottom shelf, I thought, okay, I'll be able to put 2 full hotel pans down on the bottom shelf. That means I could probably get maybe even 6 hotel pans on this grill. Well, it turns out I can only get 2 hotel pans on this grill. Only 1 per each bottom shelf, nothing on the top shelf, which means that a 24 by 48 smoker, if I'm cooking in a hotel pan, I can only get 2, which is a problem when I'm doing smoked chili or when I'm doing some other things for, 150, 200 people. This grill just won't do it for me. That's one of the issues that I'm running into with this particular unit here. Now, if I had gone and ordered one from the Lone Star Grillz website, and I had ordered the single door with no middle pillar and the single door even with the upper racks, I think that I would have a little bit better of an opportunity to be able to put more hotel pans in there, which would make it much easier for the type of cooking that I'm doing lately when I'm going out and cooking for crowds. If you follow us on social media, you've probably seen that we do quite a few cooks for our local church. And we have a group of kids that get together once a month. There's about 150 to 200 of them, and we cook a meal for them once a month. And we do all kinds of things. We did smash burgers, we've done breakfast, we've done smoked chili, we've done nachos, we've done street tacos, we've done walking tacos, all kinds of things, you name it. But today, right now, here in January, we are doing pulled pork sliders. And so we have some brioche slider buns that we're doing with pulled pork, and we made some refrigerator pickled red onion, as well as a few other things. But it's gonna be a really great event tonight that we're looking forward to. But cooking out in the sleet in the 30 or below weather is a bit draining. It's a little colder than I was expecting it to be today. Now, we're at the point now where we have the pork butts. Half of them are wrapped, the other half are about ready to be wrapped. We're gonna have them done for our event tonight, and I'm excited to be able to share this meal with all of our friends and all of our the youth that are coming to this event. Now, we have some great people who are helping us with this. I've got some chefs locally that help. I've got some volunteers that help. It's great having a team that comes out and helps us with these events. We absolutely couldn't do it without them. But one of the things I'm running into with this particular grill is I'm finding that it's just not big enough to do the cooks that we need to do. And so we're at the point where we're starting to be on the lookout for what's next for us. And the question is, what is next? Are we going to go ahead and move up to a trailer pit so it's easier to get to and from where we're going? Like I said, getting this thing on a trailer with any kind of a incline is a bear and takes multiple people to get it loaded. So it'd be really nice to have a trailer, but in order to do that, we're unfortunately going to have to sell this in order to make that happen. If we don't do a trailer, I need to do something that's much larger. I know there's some offset cabinet smokers that are on the market that I could look into that might be a good solution for this, that would fit that hotel pan thing that we need to do for these events. I'm also considering maybe some 250 or 500 gallon offset smokers. I'd love to be able to go with a 1,000 gallon offset smoker at some point, but right now I just don't know where I'd put it. So having a place to store it is something that we'd have to figure out. So I'm excited to be able to look into what's next. And no, I don't quite know what it is yet. We're still working on it. If you've got ideas, put it down in the comments below. What would you go with? Who would you go with? If you were looking to go bigger than this to feed a much larger crowd, what would you go with? I'm curious to know your thoughts. One of the challenges that may be unique to us here at our house is that we have a lip going into our garage. And there's actually 2 lips going into our garage, and one is about 1 inch tall and the other is about 3/4 of an inch tall. And this Lone Star has the upgraded 8-inch wheel package, and these casters are really great moving around a flat surface. The challenge is when we try to get this cooker in and out of the garage, it takes a couple people to get it done because of that lip that we have going into the garage. It's really hard to get this unit with those solid casters over any kind of a bump at all. So for our next cooker, I'm looking for something that has some tires to be able to get up and down the occasional lip or the occasional bump in the road. So that's something that I would consider making the change if I was going to keep this smoker long term. That is, I'd go to the Lone Star Grillz website and I would buy the off-road package. That off-road package is a great upgrade, gives you the ability to get up and down and around wherever you need it to go. So that's something that if I was going to go back and order this again, I absolutely would go order it with the off-road package. And if you're considering this, that's something that you might want to look into as well. Another thing I really love about the shelves is the fact that they slide out. I don't know what I would do if the shelves didn't slide out because it's so tight in there with that top shelf. But since they slide out, it's really, really easy to be able to get to your proteins, move them around, wrap them, put them back on. Love slide out shelves. That's something that I think is an absolute must on a smoker like this. Another thing I really like that's an upgrade that we got with this model is the slide out ash pan. Underneath that 1/2 inch grate on the firebox that you keep your wood splits and your charcoal on, we have a slide out tray that is heavy as all get out. I mean, it's easily as heavy as a bag of softener salt. I mean, it's just super beefy when you get it out. But I love that I can take that out, dump it in the garbage, or dump the ash in the garden, put it back in, and that's really all I have to do to clean the pit. It makes it super, super easy to clean this pit out. Another thing that I really love that was an upgrade is the upgraded stainless steel front shelf. That front shelf, we're using it right now to be able to put our ThermoWorks signals on. We also have a Fireboard Spark that we're using to do some instant reads. We use all kinds of products here at the lab. If you haven't subscribed, by the way, we do a whole lot of testing of different products and reviewing of different grills. Make sure you subscribe. No better time than right now as we're heading into the launch of the barbecue season here in just a few weeks. There's a lot of great content coming up, but I love this front shelf to be able to give me the utility that I need to be able to put all different kinds of things on there during a cook. I use it to be able to rest things on. I use it when I'm putting meat on. I use it when I'm pulling meat off. It's just, I can't imagine having a grill without that front shelf. I think I would really, really miss it if it wasn't there. Another thing I'm a really big fan of about this grill is the huge firebox. The firebox on this thing is really gigantic, and it makes it really, really easy to manage an offset fire. Now, some of the smaller fireboxes, you might look at it and you might go, well, I mean, I can keep everything closer together. The way I like to manage my fire on this offset is I'll take my charcoal and I will bank it to the right-hand side of that very large firebox. Then I'll take my wood splits and place them on top throughout the cook. Then on the left-hand side of the firebox, I'll take an individual single split, put it on the left-hand side of the firebox to warm up throughout that cook. So that way when I take it and I put it on top of the fire on the right-hand side, it will light up instantly. I mean, it's within 1 or 2 seconds that that thing is lit and ready to go. And I don't have any of that nasty, nasty white smoke that is going to be really bitter on my barbecue. If I was ordering again, I really would want to get a fire management basket. I know that Chris has that over at Lone Star Grills. That's something that I think I'd really want to invest in if I was keeping this long term and not upgrading to a larger model. So if you're thinking about ordering, consider that fire management basket that's going to concentrate your coals and your wood all in one spot. I think that's going to be something that's going to help you manage the fire easier on this pit. That's something that I wish I would have upgraded to. I didn't do it, and I wish I had now. So on the next version of whatever it is I get, I'm probably going to put one of those in. One of the things I wish was easier on this grill is working with the front shelf. The support system to actually lock that front shelf in place is difficult to get on, and it's even more difficult to get off. To be able to put that front shelf down, it is hard. And depending on the weather outside, it is even harder. So it's one of those things that I wish was a little bit easier. Maybe there's another way that could be done, but it's something that I find frustrating is that I'm pulling on that thing as hard as I can to be able to get that thing down. And sometimes it's really frustrating at the end of a long cook and a long day, wrestling with that shelf to be able to get it back in the garage. Now, I do store this grill inside the garage at all times. This thing is never outside unless it's being cooked on, and this thing is like my baby. I mean, I keep this thing inside. I keep it in the best shape I possibly can. I don't have a cover for it because I never keep it outside. But this thing is an absolute rock star of a grill. I have loved owning it, and I'm looking forward to something larger, to be able to do larger events. If you're thinking you want to start cooking for that neighborhood get together, or you want to have your small group over from church and you want to be able to have, 5, 6, 8, 10 families, this grill is perfect for that. It's the kind of thing where if you max yourself out on a pellet grill or a smaller offset, this is a fantastic step up to be able to give you more capacity and also really learn what it's like to have an offset smoker. But I gotta say, owning this grill for the last 5 years has been wonderful. Chris and the team over at Lone Star makes great grills. If you haven't checked them out, go check them out. Chris doesn't know I'm making this video. He didn't ask me to make this video. It's not sponsored. This is just me kind of saying, hey, we've had this for 5 years. Let me give you an update on what I've learned. So what didn't I cover? What are you curious about with this grill? Drop me a comment down below and ask the questions that you might have in regards to an offset of this size or Lone Star grills. I'll give you my input on what experience I have had in the last 5 years. It's been a great grill for us, and I'm looking forward to what's next. So remember, comment down below. What is it that you think we should upgrade to? What are you interested in seeing us review that we haven't reviewed yet? And if you have questions about this grill, the Lone Star, let me know. Happy to answer those as often as I can. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And it solely comes because, oh, that's so cold. Woo. Oh, it's so cold. Oh, why am I doing this today?